Welcome to the Prep Pigskin Report podcast, hosted by Papa Pig himself, Paul Rudy.
All right, welcome to the episode number 2 of the KUSI Prep Pigskin Report podcast. Our special guest, none other than former San Diego Charger and founder of the Rock Church, Miles McPherson. Top of the day to you, Miles.
Hey, how y'all doing?
We are doing good. Bert Grossman's riding shotgun with us, and we just kind of want to talk about your life story as it relates to football and what football then led to. So sit back. You're a Long Island kid, are you not?
Long Island, Nassau County, went to Malvern High School, not Mount Vernon, Malvern, and went to University of New Haven, Division III football school. I think they had football maybe 5 years when I arrived. And we were had winning seasons every year. We were undefeated my second year. I was All-American my third year, and then I was drafted in the NFL. All were first in the history of the school. Got drafted to the Los Angeles Rams, got cut, which means I got fired, which means I didn't get paid.
Fair enough.
Bro, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people think, oh, you guys make all that money. I had a $50,000 contract, and then they tore that up.
Hey, was your childhood, how would you describe it? Was it a happy childhood?
Oh, you know what? I had the best. I wouldn't trade a thing. Our community, we had 5 kids within 6 years of each other. Both my parents stayed married till death. And we were the house where a lot of the kids came. We had a pool in the yard. Our house was, the place to be. My mother was the school nurse in the local school. We played in all local sports. They were there and everything. It was just fabulous. It was fabulous. And so I just couldn't ask for a better community.
Miles, people don't realize back in our day, there was no internet, there was no cell phones. How did they find, and I used to get tortured by your brother when he was at Syracuse. I'd have to watch the spinning, the 8mm. How do you think you got found by the Rams back in those days at such a small school?
Yeah, Coach Rio, who was my coach, made a flyer, put my picture on it and my stats. I didn't know how to make a flyer, and I didn't even think to make a flyer. And I was like, whoa, my picture's on a piece of paper. How did that happen? And it was really no big deal, but I didn't know. And he sent it to every NFL team every week my senior year, starting in the summertime. And it said, don't miss. I still have it in my scrapbook somewhere. Don't miss Miles McPherson, All-American, All New England, 19 interceptions, blah, blah, blah. At that time, I had 19. I think I had 22 at the end of my senior year. And, blah, 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 6 foot, 190, run a 4.5 40. Oh, a little exaggeration, but Actually, I'm 5'11" and 7/8. I got told that all my life. For real, that was the book on me. So he sent it to every team, and nobody came until after the season. We had like 5 teams come watch film, and then take me out to Yale. Yale University was like, just 5 minutes away. We went there and worked out in their field. And they timed me, put me all through all the drills. And at the end of the thing, I did that a couple of times. And they said, well, you're just like D1 guys with, the shuttle and the vertical, all this stuff. And it's like, we don't see any difference. And then we saw you play. And that's how it happened. And then the Cleveland Browns said, we're going to, where you're going to be during the draft, because we're going to call you. And then the Rams said the same thing. And then the Rams said, we're going to draft you. And I was like, don't play with my head. So the day of the draft, the Cleveland Browns said, hey, we're sending you a ticket. Get on the plane. We want you here when the draft's over. We're not going to draft you, but we're going to sign you. I was like, that's good enough for me. And, hour later, half hour later, whatever, the Rams called and drafted me. And I was so in disbelief. I told the lady, stop joking. I said, who is this? And then she put the scout on the phone, and I was like, whoa. Then they put Ray Malavasi, who's passed away since then, on the phone, and that's how it happened.
So you went from being a New Haven Charger, got drafted by the Rams, and ended up playing for the San Diego Chargers. In a lot of ways, you're the perfect example of, hey, if you're good enough, they will find you, and if you work hard enough, you can make it all the way to the show. I think that sets you up really well to deliver that message, does it not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my nickname in training camp with the Rams was Long Shot. Everybody called me. You ain't gonna make this team, and they were right. But I was put on like a practice before they had a practice. They had semi-practice. I was like practice team B, and the strike came. I got cut, but then the strike came 2 weeks after. But after I got cut, they paid me to stay there, and kind of under the table. And then the strike came, and nobody was playing. Strike ended. Somebody on the Chargers got hurt. First game was Monday night, Chargers Raiders. Bobby Greger, defensive back, got hurt, and I went down there that Tuesday, day off, and worked out with 2 other guys, and they signed me.
So what was after your 3 years with the Bolts, what's your fondest memory with San Diego as far as playing there?
Yeah, I was there 4 years. You know, I just love football. I love practice. You know, I love locker room practice. The games were different because it was. I love the games, but you know, just the lifestyle of being with the dudes on the field, practicing reps after reps, working, getting better. You know, I got married in my third year. Met a lot of people, but I just love playing. You know, I love practice. And training camp, we got to practice twice. Even though that was, you know, your legs are
same in that one, Miles. Yeah, we're different on that one.
You wouldn't recognize training camp now, Miles.
Hey, it was tough, man.
Oh, yeah.
You remember legs are rubber. I mean,
Right.
it was.
Yeah.
And I remember walking, huh?
3 times a day sometimes with special teams being the third, yeah.
And I remember walking in one time into the locker room in training camp, and Dan Fouts was sitting on the training table, and he had ice on his shoulders, his knees, his ankles, his neck. And he's sitting there like a mummy, and I'm walking in like this. And he looked at me and went, now he's thinking, you've been running all day. I run this far. And how do you have all that energy? I just loved it. I just loved practice. You know, reps.
A gym rat. Hey, Miles, your career was an average length NFL career. You know, by most standards, it was a short career if you compare it to being a school teacher or something, but it was an average length NFL career. Tell us about that day when you realized your football was over, but you had a full life still to live.
Well, I think, you know, I was doing cocaine my first 2 years. I got saved and stopped doing cocaine in one day. April 12th, 1984. That year I was a starter and played 4 games, got hurt Monday night with the Raiders. One of my old men ran into my leg. His name escaped me right now. Oh gosh, I see I'm getting old.
Yeah.
And I'll remember as soon as we end this. And then I was doing ministry. I was speaking. I was going to prisons and high schools and stuff. And then one day I was kneeling down in the mud at practice, and this thought came to my mind: you're 25 years old, still kneeling in the mud. It's about time you go do something different. And my heart was gone. And so it was kind of an evolution where God just changed my heart and said, okay, we've done this. Now we're going to go do this. It was over a 2-year period. And then I finally got cut the last time. I got cut from the Chargers twice. And I was fine with it. I actually got to pray for Don Coryell, who was, I could cry thinking about that guy. He was such the sweetest guy in the world. And I got to pray for him when he cut me, and he didn't cut me, you know,
right.
It came somewhere else. But when I got cut, and it's just said, man, thank you for the opportunity. It's been the greatest thing in my life. And now I'm going to go do something else.
Wow. Hey, so, you know, the Rock Church has become, school church has become, you know, as iconic in San Diego as surfing or the Midway or the Del Mar racetrack. Tell us the process of how it got that big, and did you envision it being that successful and that large in the beginning, or was it just something you loved?
You know, I started out as a youth pastor, and I did that for like, so in 1984, when I got saved, I started a Bible study in my house with some teenagers in Rancho Penasquitos, and that turned into, so that was 84, 85-ish. It wasn't until 15 years later, being in youth ministry of 15 years, that we started the Rock Church. And so when we started the Rock Church, you know, I figured, we're going to have 10,000 people in 5 years. And so 7 years later, we had 14,000 people. But I didn't have any vision of too much past that, even though that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we had 3,000 people, over 3,000 people our first day, because I was at Horizon for so many years, and we just launched that. But I didn't have a vision of internet. We didn't have the internet like we have now, and multi-campuses. I didn't know about that. So I know, to answer your question. And to think now, the people we reach online, which is, it's ungodly numbers. It's so embarrassing to say, because it's not even, you just can't believe it. But so no, it's much bigger than I thought. And even now, to have our diversity training called similarity training, that's a whole nother area of service that is dear to my heart, because racism has been part of my life all my life, and we always want to do something about it because of the diversity in my family and the diversity in my community where I grew up. So I never imagined all that.
Miles, if I had to say, what is your special gift, I would look at you in the eye and say you're one of the best public orators I have ever had the pleasure and good fortune to rub shoulders with. Help me out. Give me some tips as far as public speaking. What's a good tip for somebody who has to stand up in front of a lot of people and connect, which you do as well as anybody? And
yeah,
better than
and I have
most.
a course that we actually teach that I've taught at our church. A lot of them, but I would say, what is the first thing you're going to say? And what is the last thing you're going to say? So you got to know how you're going to start, and you definitely know how you got to end. Because a lot of times people, they ramble because they don't know how to land the plane. And I would say that we call it the 3 say whats. Say what you're gonna say and do it with a story. People remember stories more than facts. Say what you're gonna say, then say what you promised to say, and then say what you said. So you tell people, hey, I tell a story. Hey, here's what I'm going to talk to you about. Okay, now I know, and it's why it's relevant to me. And then fulfill that promise and tell them what you said you're going to say. Then at the end, say, now that we're in conclusion, here's what I just told you. Because people forget.
Yes.
They go, I can't tell you how many times people say to me, Pastor, that story was so great. My life was changed. It was awesome. And I said, what did you get out of it? I don't know, but it was great. I get that all the time. People come to me say, I love your church. I go to your church. I say, what day? Oh, I go on Thursday night. We don't have a Thursday night.
So I usually, in my speaking, they usually just cut the mic. That's how I end it. But, so Miles, is that natural? I mean, were you always a natural speaker, or is that something you had to work on and learn?
Well, I definitely learned, but I used to be petrified. I would stand and hold the pulpit with both hands. I think I was better than I thought I was, but I tell you the where I really learned was speaking at high school assemblies, because I've done 500 high school assemblies, whatever it is, and they would just throw you out there, and you got 1,000, 2,000, 400, whatever kids. And they're in control. And so you got to grab them, you got to keep them, you got to go from one story to, at least the way I learned to do it. High energy, emotional roller coaster. Another thing I talk about is take people on an emotional roller coaster. Talk fast, talk slow, talk loud, talk soft. You're just monotone, you're going to bore people to death. And so I learned all that speaking to high schools, inner city schools, suburban schools, private schools. I would walk into a prison, into the day room where the guys are playing dominoes, whether it be adults or teenagers, and just walk in by myself and ask them to turn the TV down so I could talk to them. Wow. It's like, who are you?
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So you got some stones.
You learn by doing it. So I think I obviously had the raw talent, but I had to learn to refine it. And I'm still learning a lot.
Well, let's, as we're getting closer to the end of this, Miles, I thought maybe we could break some news. And I thought it was apropos. It's important for you to break the news because it affects me, and we're really excited about it. And I'm hoping you are too, because things are changing now as it relates to the Prep Picks Report. Once you're going to be part of the show.
I'm part of the show, and let me tell you something. I'm going back to my roots where I started with youth ministry. I love kids, love sports. I mean, I couldn't be more excited about being on PPR every Friday. And on November 30th, the Rock Church is hosting the PPR, the gala at the Rock Church. And we're going to be giving out the Like a Rock Award to the student who has done the best job of community service. We want to encourage kids to serve in our community. We got to pay it forward. And there's no earlier time, no better time than when you're a child to learn to give and serve. So we're going to be giving the Like a Rock Award. And November 30th, PPR, the gala, we are excited. Have a bunch of teenage athletes in our building. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't tell you how excited we are. You know, obviously we love being on the Midway, but we kind of outgrew it. So we're really excited that you're going to host it. And Miles, the message from Miles, as we were alluding to earlier in this conversation, I can't think of a person who can connect with these kids on a better level. One, you have this gift to communicate. You have a story to tell as it relates to athletics that I think, you know, a lot of kids want to hear, because everyone's so worried about, hey, can I get to Oregon, or hey, can I get to this? And you know, the message, they will find you if you apply yourself, is I think something you can deliver as well as anybody.
They'll find you. You got to do your part. Do the best you can. Be the most creative. And kids today, especially with the internet, they got all the technology that NASA had to send their man to the moon. They got more of that in their hand, and they're doing great things with it. So it's just an honor to be part of this, and I'm excited about, you know, working with these athletes.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. You'll make your debut in week 2. And
I should give him some advice, though, about you.
Yeah, please.
Nobody gave me this advice. Paul's a diva, and he likes all the attention, so he purposely steers me to the wrong camera. He misspells names, so I mispronounce them for kids.
None of this is true.
He can look good, so be careful.
None of this is true, Miles. Miles, you know, I thought I've known you since I've been in town for 20 years, so I thought I knew you really well. This stat crossed my, you know, in reviewing, getting ready for this interview. You're a father of 7?
No.
So
I have 3 kids.
Pardon me?
I have 3 children.
Oh, good. I was going to say.
I have 7.
No. I was going to say that. So you just have 3 kids.
I have 3 children, 35, 34, 32. Yep. And my son is a police officer here in San Diego, by the way.
Hey, that's got to be tough. I mean, right now, what's going on with law enforcement? Could you speak a little bit about that? Because you brought up diversity training and racism. How tough is it for your young man to be a police officer these days?
You know, my dad was a cop in New York City for 30 years and 30 plus. And being a cop is tough no matter what. And now he's a detective, so it's a little different.
Right.
But, you know, he's a tough guy, and he knew what he was getting into as far as serving the community, and I support him 100%.
All right. Well, Miles, we sure appreciate you making time for us today. I know you've got 1,001 things to do, and we'll put this up on the internet at some point and share it with you, and then we'll see the message week 2, the message from Miles, as we get closer to the Silver Pigskin Gala, episode number 22 of that. So, Miles McPherson, Pastor Miles, thank you very much.
God bless y'all.
Have a great day, Miles.